Hello and welcome to the best fucking podcast in the world. I'm JD. Unfortunately, Lloyd can't be with us this weekend. He is out with his family enjoying the great summer sun. But I've got Nick Samurai Fingers in the studio with us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best fucking podcast in the world.
Good to have you back. We've had you on before.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years.
It has. I think it's almost 2 years. I don't know to the date, but I feel like it was this time.
It was definitely a while ago. I know about a year ago we stopped doing a lot of the musical guests, and you were on as a musical guest with your band at the time, Stick Shift Suicide.
Yep.
And doing all that kind of stuff. But you've kind of ventured out. You've kind of pivoted in, what you're doing online, and you're doing something different now.
For sure.
Obviously, people realizing that I'm introducing you as Samurai Fingers might think that that's a new band, but in fact,
that's just my online persona. I've had the YouTube channel Samurai Fingers, and I've kind of used that as an online moniker for the better part of 15 years. Yeah. The channel itself has been going since 2008, 2009, and it's been pretty dormant for the last few years. But this year, I made a commitment that I wanted to get the YouTube channel growing, get myself out there, be better at promo, be better at branding. I've taken on, building a bigger Facebook group following, building a bigger YouTube following, building a bigger Instagram following. Vivo I've been using. I'm just Instagram. I think I already mentioned that, but I'm just trying to get everything rolling. And the Samurai Fingers, I think as a brand, for me anyway, is a little bit more exciting than just Nick Morrison.
Right.
Which is cool. I mean, I love who I am, and obviously I am who I am, but I think the brand and that image that you can put up, it goes back to the old days. You look at Iron Maiden, you look at Megadeth, they got Vic Rattlehead, they got Ed the Head, and all the bad stuff or whatever, stupid stuff or whatever, you could always attribute to that effigy rather than the individual band. I'm not doing anything that risque, but I like that. I like the logo. I like the thing. I like the name.
And it's a fantastic logo. I think sometimes, when you have something that's good and catchy, and I think your logo is absolutely that. It definitely does help in those regards. I mean, it's nice, it's clean, it's all that kind of stuff.
Well, and it makes merch sales easy,
right? Because in all honesty, things like a logo, like in our case as well, I don't think anybody wants my face on a t-shirt. I'm pretty sure that's a safe bet. That if I go print out, 100 t-shirts, that I will sell maybe one, and that will be my mom. And she'd probably still not wear it. She'd probably just put it in a drawer somewhere. So.
Although you could probably do a kick-ass t-shirt with like your face, kind of like an Andy Warhol-esque, at a bit of an angle and like blue with a comic book look, or something, and do a series like blue, yellow, red, all on the all your face.
Actually, somebody who's really good at utilizing his face for marketing is actually Matt Mort. If you look at his stuff,
I guess his face is always
for sure. He's got that quirky little shot, and it works really, really well for him. But I think that works because his persona's quirky, so quirky works. Whereas me, it's not really kind of. It's like, why would you want this big guy on a t-shirt? Probably not, right?
For sure.
Unless you're into duck hunting or something like that, and you fall into that stuff, maybe.
Hey man, there's a huge market for that. There's a huge market for that. Those Duck Dynasty guys, they're never gonna die.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like those guys, you would never suspect.
Yeah.
Sort of with the United States bandana, big beard, all that kind of stuff, camouflage wear that anybody would care. And people love them to death for what they are. People
love those folks. So getting this year, it's funny. I kind of last year was like the year of Nick, where I wanted to be positive and I wanted to kind of just chase down a lot of like personal goals, getting in slightly better shape, eating better, not drinking as much, exercising, that kind of stuff. And this year I'm really trying to focus on business stuff holistically. And, the YouTube is certainly one portion of it, and, and all the rest of it. But I mean, ultimately I go back to like that Chris Rock thing. I remember reading an interview with him maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And, somebody was asking, why do you do movies? Do you love acting? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, nah, I don't like acting. I do this so people will come and see my comedy shows.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true.
And that's why I do all the rest of it, is so that people will either, come to see me when I play live, which right now is not often, or people will buy my music or hire me to compose music for film, TV show, video game, whatever happens to be. And you know, and it's been working, which is good.
Your motive is actually very similar to my own. My decision to step in front of the camera was that at least that way you could put a face to, you know, sort of the work, because a lot of times my work being a photographer it's definitely not about me necessarily.
Yeah,
it's definitely
for sure.
about the subject matter. But, you know, as well, you know, when you have a face there as well, things like people taking your stuff and using it,
for sure,
it becomes a little bit more difficult because there's a face attached to
Yeah.
it. Is kind of the thing. And the other thing is too, is that, you know, I would go places and, you know, it's like, no, you're not supposed to be here. It's like, no, I'm totally supposed to be here. It's like, no, you're not, get out. And it's, you know,
right.
I've actually found that's improved
Oh,
slightly.
that's good, because people are starting to recognize you.
People recognize
Nice.
my face because they see the other stuff attached to it. You know, whereas before it was, you know, you would never know. I could walk, and I used to like that. I mean, I'll be frank. Like when I was doing film and stuff, I used to like the fact that nobody knew who I was. But, you know, times change, and, you know,
for sure,
social media has definitely changed a lot.
It has just the 10 years that I've kind of really been on and active. I mean, again, you go back 10 years ago, I really wasn't doing that much, but it was so different.
Yeah.
Everybody at that point had a handle. So it wasn't unique that I was Samurai Fingers, but now everybody's like, this is my name, this is my channel, whatever else. And I like that. I like the kind of the journey that people are going on, and it's more of like a documenting of their life and a documenting of their process, a documenting of their art, rather than necessarily always putting out finished product.
Yeah.
Because for me, from like a promotional standpoint, and it's probably similar for photography, like a lot of times once I am paid for a piece of music, like I can't touch it, I can't do anything with it ever again, and it's forever tied to that brand or that show or that movie. And so, like, I can't, you know, cut the scene out and put it on. I've tried. You put it on YouTube, it gets flagged for copyright notice. And it's like, well, but it's my own music, but I don't own it anymore because it's now a part of that other thing.
Right.
So it's like, how do you promote that stuff? So, you know, using it as a tool to actually record stuff and put, you know, stuff that's not in use somewhere already to get it out so people can see it and hear it. Yeah. That's huge for me. I think it's, you know, I'm getting a much bigger audience than I ever would if it was just blogging or, you know, my own website.
It's funny how that happens, that you get flags like that even when you're the original content creator. I know with the mountain bike films, eventually I went to put them on YouTube, and I had sold them initially for online distribution through a company in San Francisco called Total Vid. So long time ago, you used to be able to basically rent movies online. They would give you access to it, and then after so many hours it would deactivate, so you couldn't watch it again. You would have to rent it. It was like an online rental service. It was kind of cutting edge. It was cool. And then if you liked the film, basically you could order it through them and all that kind of stuff. So I started putting it on YouTube because they were, you know, sort of like the contract was almost over and I was going down and all that kind of stuff, and I was like just trying to revamp some things and put it out there, just kind of get it out there. And then they were filing copyright claims against myself via myself, which was so, and I was trying to explain to YouTube that at the time, which was really funny. And this is kind of why I didn't jump on YouTube early on, is it's like, no, I own this. I have the master and sync rights for all the music that they were also claiming as well.
Right.
You know, we have contracts here, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, whatever, like, no. And I'm like, no, you guys don't know what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. So very early on, they were very, very disorganized. And that drove me away, because I'm like, I don't want to deal with somebody who doesn't know
the ins and outs of all of the legal stuff.
All the legal stuff, right? Like, I'm perfectly clean here, but you guys are, you know, giving me a hard time. So I just, you know, basically took the stuff down. And, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because if you look back at the very beginning, they were having users that were uploading full seasons of like Frasier, The Simpsons, Cheers, like major network shows, and it was just like some dude in his basement in Brazil. And that was totally fine. And then guys like us, we'd have our stuff like flagged.
But I think
taken
what would
down.
happen with that was early on, television and movies and all that kind of stuff didn't have the technology to kind of do it. And because I was working with Total Vid early on, which that was their business.
Yeah, for sure.
And they sort of, when they shut down, they became other things. And that's kind of what they became, was a means to track your media online.
For sure.
And do all that kind of stuff. But so they were right on it, like they were, which is great. But you know, to the same extent, you know, it was kind of like, okay, guys, like you need to calm down. It's like, no, you're not who you say you are. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I am. But you know, but that's you know just how things go. So.
Yeah, looking out for you, I guess, which is which is good.
Yeah. But I mean, it's changed a lot, and I mean, you're doing well, because obviously you got YouTube's Creator of the Month this month. You know,
well, not YouTube's, but YouTube Calgary, yeah, which is pretty cool. Yeah. It's nice. I mean, again, you know, any time that you can put your face in front of, you know, more people in whatever the venue happens to be, it's always a good thing. You know, there's that old saying, there's no such thing as bad advertising or bad marketing. Yeah. I don't know that I 100% agree with that, because if you do shitty stuff, like, you know, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. But virtually, there's no such thing as bad advertising anymore. Yeah. And I think the cool thing about where social media has changed and pivoted is that aspect of behind the scenes, and this is me, this is raw, this is uncut, and getting that face to something. And again, the more, you know, you can put your face in front of people, the bigger everything gets. Right. Rising waters float all boats. Yeah. You know? And so getting involved and talking to, you know, the YYC vid creators, talking to yourself, talking to other podcasters. I'm going to do a series coming up this week on, I've reached out to a bunch of other Berkeley alumni that I went to school with. Some extremely successful, like I've got a couple Grammy winners and Emmy winners for sound design, sound mixing, music writing, that kind of stuff. And a couple other guys that are just doing like kind of the local band thing, and another fellow that's completely out of the music industry entirely. He works for NASA. Yeah. But I'm going to do a series of interviews with them in terms of, you know, like, what was your experience at Berkeley like, and what did you learn from the experience? What did you gain? You know, would you recommend it? Because I think there's a huge portion of the population that is, you know, very curious about that school specifically, because I mean, you know, it's a world-class facility. But they don't have access to people to ask them that kind of stuff. So I think that's really cool, being able to share that kind of stuff. You know, with people in general. And that's, I mean, it's always been available. I don't think people were really doing that kind of thing before. Yeah. You know, and I find the more real you get, or the more real I get with my audience and with other creators and the podcast, whatever it happens to be, the more real you get, the better feedback you get. Yeah. You know, the internet, if nothing else, I find the internet is really good at sniffing out bullshit. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. And they love it. I mean, I think for some people it's a sport. It's like, let's check this out, you know? You know, so if there's any inkling of like, well, I'm putting on a front, or I'm trying to do this or whatever else, you know, immediately somebody's going to say, oh, nope, that's not true. He didn't do that. He did this, or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's not even like in defense of, oh, I don't want that to happen. It's just like, well, just be you, you know, be comfortable sharing as much as you want. Like, you don't have to just open your soul. But some people do. Yeah, absolutely. You know? I mean, it's, you know, do what you love and, you know, put that out there. I mean, you don't have to like you said, share every intimate detail of your life. There's a certain point where you sort of put up the wall. You see that with, you know, certain creators from time to time. You'll see, and you like at one point you'll be like, oh, I didn't even know they had a family, because they don't talk about it or all those kind of things. And I get that. I mean, it's, you know, absolutely, you can't, you know, just like every minute. And there's some people that do that successfully, you know, sort of broadcast, you know, there's some of those crazy channels where they have multiple, like you can watch every camera in their house kind of thing. Yeah, which is nuts, like 24/7. Which is weird, you know, it's like Big TV. Brother. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly like that. So, you know, The Truman Show. Yeah, it's, you know, it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of niches and all that kind of stuff, but genuine is definitely, I think, the way to go. And, you know, self-branding and all that kind of stuff, being who you actually are, because, you know, that's really your brand. Is well, yeah, exactly. And it's never been easier to do that. Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget it. You know, it's interesting too, being a part of the YYC Tube community, because that's obviously where we live. So it's easy to kind of reach out and talk to people here, but it's so fascinating to me, the amount of roadblocks that people will put up for themselves. Right. With creating content, or finding a niche, or creating a video, or editing a video, or whatever it happens to be. And I mean, it's probably different for me because I am a musician and I'm used to spontaneity. Yeah. Where I'm just like, yeah, let her rip, man. And once it's gone, like the note is gone forever. Yeah. Everybody, you know, people really only remember the last 12 notes that you played, you know, in terms of music. And that's why they always say finish on a high note. You know, you want to go out with the biggest song that you've got, the one that people love, and end on that high note. But, yeah, I'm a huge fan of just edit it, put it out. Who cares? Even if you don't know where you are right now, you're going to figure it out. You're going to have that journey, and the people will join you and see the real you, join and want to follow through on that journey. Yeah. I think a lot of people, what happens there is they see a lot of channels. They see the, you know, Casey Neistat's, the Peter McKinnons, you know, these guys, the Maddies, you know, putting out very, very high content, you know,
creative content, in Casey's case, every day pretty
Sure,
much,
yeah.
In Peter's case, once or twice a week. And I think, people believe that they have to have that sort of production quality in that sense. And I think that's intimidating to people. And, even for myself, like when I stepped in, it's like, I need to do this really well because I made films. And then it's like, no, like I had to basically tell myself the biggest hurdle for me starting was saying, don't care about what you do, just do it, and don't care about, angles, and don't try to film it like a film, and don't, worry about the audio, and don't worry about that stuff, and don't worry if the camera's going in and out and all that kind of stuff. And once I got over that personal kind of thing, I mean, obviously when I'm working, all those things matter 100%.
Oh, for sure,
and it's there's no room for error there, but when it's day-to-day sort of routine, it doesn't matter. Just go out and do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and have fun with it.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's your personality that goes up. I mean, obviously, Casey and Peter and guys like that are in a different, sort of stage. And a lot of those guys have crews. And I don't think,
for sure.
They realize that. I mean, Casey's very good. He's at hiding the fact that, there's a lot of people
there's
he works
10
with
and 15, 20 people behind the scenes helping him do that one video a day. That's a private vlog.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that people forget, though, especially with like, Casey and the Neistat brothers in general, I mean, you're looking at the end product of like 25 years of building up to that.
Yeah.
He had an HBO series before that. Did MTV have something to do with it? I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah. HBO was sort of the launching point.
Right. But like, I mean, he had a professional full-time career making a TV show before he ever hit YouTube.
Right. And his shtick, in a sense, was the low budget everyday kind of, that was the,
sure.
kind of the quirky edits and all that kind of stuff is.
And I think that's the great thing about YouTube too, because you can see all of the different types of stuff, whether it's audio or video or both or art or whatever, you can see people at all levels of development. And, sure, guys like your Caseys and your Peters, they sort of raise the visual bar of what a YouTube channel can look like. But at the end of the day, there's still a couple of dudes doing what they love, talking about what they love. And I think that's the other thing that I love about YouTube, and that's why I wanted to start getting on to daily content creation. I just want to do more cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you.
And a lot of, I have a lot of procedural stuff on my channel, guitar how-tos and whatever else. But, going out for that adventure and having a burger at a new restaurant, or going with your wife to explore, a new area south of, not new, but like an area south of Calgary that's like abandoned or something. Yeah. There's a really cool channel. I actually found him. He just put out, his name is, I want to get this right, Kelsey Norman. And he put out a video last week called Abandoned Houses of Downtown Calgary, or Houses in Downtown Calgary, something like this. Because there's like these 120-year-old houses like in pockets, and there's like a giant skyscraper on either side, and this teeny weeny little house. So he's kind of filmed this thing, and it's gone crazy. I think he's up to like 50,000 some odd views. Really cool guy. He's done, vlogs for the past 4 or 5 years, but like, who is he? Nobody knows who he is. Anyway, so I've invited him to come and join the YYC Vid Creators website. And I don't remember where I was going with that, but it's just neat to see kind of all the different talent that's available. Oh, that was it. Because he goes exploring, in all of these abandoned, that was like kind of the main thrust of his channel, is these abandoned houses and abandoned farms and abandoned cities or towns, I guess, really, in Alberta. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
there's a ton of abandoned places in Alberta. Saskatchewan I was aware of because my wife's family is from Saskatchewan, or her dad's family. But they, I guess 20 years ago, basically sold the family farm, and it was bought out by, I don't know, whatever the large... what do you call that? Oil producing, not oil produce, like cooking oil, vegetable oil. One of those big, like mechanical, huge operations. And they did that with like tons, like hundreds of families throughout Saskatchewan. And you can drive down the roads now, and there's just like all these little abandoned houses, little abandoned farmsteads and whatever else. And it's all like this corporate land now. Yeah. But you can drive through. So anyway, when we were out 2 years ago, I think, we went, her dad was really interested and wanted to take us to the old family farmstead, and it's completely abandoned and falling apart and whatever. But we had to look around, and it was really neat. Yeah. And there's hundreds of them out there, but I didn't realize, and of course it makes sense. There's the exact same thing here in Alberta. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. It's funny when you mention, like, you'd not heard of the guy, you know, he'd been doing vlogs and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's the thing with YouTube. Like you can be massive too. Like there's guys,
oh yeah,
you know, from this city that I had never heard of that had 1 million plus followers. And
for sure.
Just, you know, it's like, oh, I do this and I have this. It's like, really? And it's like, it's amazing how you cannot know. Like it's so vast, you know, somebody can be absolutely massive and you would never know unless you are in, you know, sort of that genre or, you know, looking for those types of videos.
Yeah,
it's
for
just,
sure.
And that's the beauty of YouTube too, is it's so vast and diverse. I mean, there's tons of channels, you know, for everything.
Oh, for everything. Yeah, it
if
doesn't
you've
matter.
got a, you know, little micro niche, you know, kind of interest, I'm guarantee there's a channel that does something on it.
What I mean, well, look at there's a fella in town that does like the Matchbox cars.
Yeah.
His huge collection of Matchbox cars, and I mean, whatever, he's got a couple hundred or a couple thousand followers or whatever. But the channels that do that stuff, like there's millions of people follow that kind of stuff. And yeah, exactly. If you can think of a weird niche, and it's funny because as soon as I said that, I immediately thought about porn. But like, if there's a weird thing you can think about, you can guarantee there's already a video about it or a blog dedicated to it or a YouTube channel or whatever else for that weird thing.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. But that's all we got time for this week.
Wow, crazy. That's 20 minutes just goes so fast.
It's actually more than 20 minutes. Yeah,
really?
It just flies through. It's a crazy thing. You know, it's we used to do like 2+ hour things.
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff. And and then we found that nobody watched like the last hour and 40 minutes of it, so we cut it down to 20, and that's kind of the space that we occupy. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
By all means, you can check Nick out. Your socials are
Samurai Fingers everywhere, exactly how it sounds. SAMURAI Fingers.
So we'll throw all those links down below. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And until next time, I'm JD.
I'm Nick. Samurai Fingers.
See ya.